Here's something nobody tells you at 40. You're not in the middle of your life anymore. You're in the middle of your financial sentence. And the words you choose right now will determine how that sentence ends. Most Americans hit their 40s feeling, for the first time, like things are working. The salary is real. The house is real. The career has actual momentum. And that feeling, that quiet confidence that you've made it, is precisely what makes this decade so dangerous. Because your 40s aren't just another chapter, they are the chapter. The decade where the same income, the same neighborhood, the same zip code produces two completely different retirements. One ends in a paid-off house and winter trips to Scottsdale. The other ends in part-time work at 67 and medication budgets that compete with utility bills. Same earning power, radically different outcomes. And the gap between those two lives was built quietly, one seemingly reasonable decision at a time between the ages of 40 and 50. Here's the uncomfortable truth about your 40s. It's not the hardest decade financially. It's the most leveraged one. And most people have absolutely no idea what that means until it's far too late to do anything about it.
Let me show you exactly what's happening beneath the surface. When you hit 40, three separate financial forces converge at the exact same moment. Forces that will never align again in your lifetime. The first force is peak earning power. For most American professionals, income hits its ceiling somewhere between 42 and 55. You're not getting the dramatic raises anymore, but the absolute dollars are higher than they've ever been. A 45-year-old earning $115,000 annually has more raw material available for wealth building than at any previous point in their entire career. That's force one. The second force is compounding time. At 40, you still have roughly 20 to 25 years before traditional retirement. At historical market returns, a dollar invested today becomes approximately $4 by the time you're 65. Wait until you're 50 to invest that same dollar, it becomes roughly $2.50. Wait until you're 55, $2, maybe. The multiplier collapses rapidly with every passing year. Your 40s are the last decade where time still works aggressively in your favor. The third force is expense stabilization. By your early 40s, several major cost categories begin leveling off. The house that stretched your budget in your 30s now fits more comfortably. The career wardrobe is established. The furniture is bought. The chaos of early family life starts settling into something manageable. This creates margin, real, meaningful margin that didn't exist a decade earlier. And here is exactly where the story splits. That margin either flows toward wealth building or it gets quietly absorbed into a more expensive version of your life. New house, newer cars, bigger vacations, private school upgrades, all of it reasonable sounding, all of it wealth destroying. Consider this simple illustration. Someone reaches 40 with $100,000 already saved. They earn $110,000 per year. If they save 15% of their income consistently from 40 to 65, investing in low-cost, diversified index funds at 8% annual returns, they accumulate approximately $1.35 million. Reduce that savings rate to just 5% through their 40s and try to compensate at 50, they end up with roughly $780,000. That is a $560,000 gap produced by one decade of softer decisions. The math doesn't care about your intentions, it only counts what you actually did. Let's talk about the decision that quietly destroys more American retirements than any market crash ever has. It doesn't feel dangerous. It feels like progress. It feels like you've earned it. It's called the housing upgrade, and in your 40s, it arrives right on schedule. The kids need more space. The neighborhood feels like it should reflect your success by now. The mortgage payment looks manageable against your current income. And so, millions of Americans in their 40s trade a $350,000 home for a $580,000 home. The monthly payment difference? Roughly $1,600 to $2,000 every single month. That's between $19,000 and $24,000 per year that is no longer available for investment. Now run that number forward 25 years with historical market returns of 8% annually. That housing upgrade, the one that felt completely reasonable, the one the mortgage broker told you was well within your debt-to-income ratio, cost you somewhere between $900,000 and $1.3 million in retirement wealth. You didn't buy a bigger house, you bought a smaller retirement with a 3-car garage. And here's the psychology that makes this trap nearly invisible. The upgraded house feels exciting for about 18 months. Then it just feels normal. The brain adapts completely. You stop noticing the vaulted ceilings. You stop feeling the extra square footage. The emotional return on that decision drops to 0, while the financial cost compounds every single day for the next 2 decades. Meanwhile, the family that stayed in the modest home and redirected that $2,000 monthly into index funds, they're building something invisible but permanent. Options. The option to retire at 62 instead of 67. The option to help their children with down payments. The option to absorb financial emergency without catastrophe. The option to say no to work they no longer want to do. None of that shows up on a neighborhood walk. You can't see it from the street, but it is the only upgrade that actually compounds. Now, I want to be precise here. This is not an argument against home ownership. It is an argument against using your home as a trophy financed during the exact decade when your investment dollars carry maximum leverage. The family that understands opportunity cost doesn't see the bigger house as an upgrade. They see it for exactly what it is: wealth destruction with better countertops.
Let's move to the second quiet wealth destroyer of your 40s. It sits in your driveway. It has leather seats. It probably has a monthly payment somewhere north of $600. And every single person on your street has one too. Which is precisely why nobody questions it. The vehicle upgrade in your 40s follows the exact same psychological script as the housing upgrade. You've been driving practical cars your entire adult life. You're earning real money now. The lease payment is manageable, and besides, everyone at your income level drives something like this. So the practical sedan becomes a luxury SUV. The reliable crossover becomes something with a German or Scandinavian nameplate. And just like that, your household is running 2 vehicles, each costing somewhere between $45,000 and $60,000, instead of 2 vehicles costing $26,000 to $30,000 each. Let's look at what that actually means in real numbers. The premium on 2 luxury vehicles over their practical equivalents runs roughly $35,000 to $45,000 in additional purchase price. Add higher insurance premiums, add more expensive routine maintenance, add the psychological pull to upgrade again in 4 years, because luxury vehicle owners always upgrade again in 4 years. Over a 20-year period through your 40s and 50s, the total wealth cost of premium vehicle choices compounds to somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 in retirement savings you will never have. A car that gets you to the grocery store and back, and a car that gets you to the grocery store and back in a massaged, heated seat produce identical outcomes on the road. They produce vastly different outcomes in your retirement account. And here's the part that should genuinely bother you. Vehicles are the single fastest depreciating major purchase most Americans make. The moment that $60,000 SUV leaves the dealership lot, it is worth somewhere around $51,000. You have already lost $9,000 before you've driven past the first traffic light. Financially intelligent Americans don't see a luxury vehicle as a reward. They see it as a recurring wealth transfer from their future retired self to an auto manufacturer's quarterly earnings report. The retiree with $1.4 million in investments drove boring cars in their 40s,
almost without exception. They understood something their neighbors didn't, that the real status symbol isn't what's parked in your driveway at 45, it's what's in your brokerage account at 65. One of those things impresses people for a weekend. The other one buys your freedom for 30 years. Now let's talk about the wealth destroyer that comes wrapped in genuine love for your children, which makes it the hardest one to see clearly. Your 40s are typically the years when college stops being an abstract future concept and becomes an immediate, expensive, emotionally charged reality. And what happens next is one of the most financially damaging patterns in middle-class American life. Parents begin raiding their own retirements to fund their children's education. Parent Plus loans exceeding $100,000, retirement contributions paused for 4, sometimes 8 years, 401k accounts partially liquidated to cover tuition gaps, all of it framed as sacrifice, all of it framed as good parenting, and almost none of it examined through the lens of long-term financial consequence. Here is the brutal mathematical reality. Your 18-year-old is standing at the beginning of a 40-year earning career. They have time, flexibility, and options that you no longer have. You are standing at the most leveraged investment decade of your entire life. A dollar you fail to invest at 43 doesn't just cost you $1 at 65, it costs you approximately $4 at 65. When you pause retirement contributions for 4 years to fund college, you are not spending money. You are permanently removing compounding fuel from the only engine that can still generate real retirement wealth. The families who navigate this without destroying their financial future make uncomfortable decisions that their peer group often judges harshly. They require children to apply for merit scholarships aggressively. They choose in-state public universities over prestigious out-of-state institutions. They expect children to contribute through part-time work or modest personal loans. They maintain retirement contributions even when tuition bills create pressure to stop. And here's the reframe that changes everything. You cannot borrow your way into retirement security. Your child absolutely can borrow their way through college and spend a decade paying it down during their peak earning years. That is a recoverable situation for them. An empty retirement account at 55 is not a recoverable situation for you. The most genuinely loving financial decision you can make for your children is ensuring you will never become their financial burden at 75.
That requires protecting your retirement contributions, even when protecting them feels selfish. It isn't selfish, it's the only rational choice available. Let's talk about the force that ties every previous mistake together. The invisible current that pulls most 40-year-old Americans quietly off course without a single dramatic decision ever being made. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive as one catastrophic choice. It arrives as a series of completely reasonable upgrades, each one justified, each one modest in isolation, each one utterly devastating in combination. Your income grows by $20,000 annually. A few thousand goes to taxes. The rest, it gets absorbed. New kitchen renovation, nicer restaurants becoming the default instead of the occasion. A family vacation that costs $12,000 instead of $4,000. A country club membership because several colleagues have one. A home office upgrade, a wine collection, a boat. None of it feels reckless. All of it feels earned. And here is the psychological mechanism that makes lifestyle inflation nearly impossible to resist without deliberate, almost uncomfortable intention. Human beings are wired for social comparison, not global comparison, local comparison. You don't compare yourself to someone in rural Mississippi. You compare yourself to your neighbor, your colleague, your brother-in-law, your college roommate's Instagram. And in your 40s, your immediate social circle is likely earning real money and spending every dollar of it visibly. The kitchen renovations are happening, the European vacations are being posted, the club memberships are being casually mentioned at dinner parties, and your brain, ancient and tribal as it is, registers a quiet but persistent alarm signal. You are falling behind.
even when you are objectively doing fine, even when your retirement account is growing steadily. The social pressure of your peer group in your 40s is the single most underestimated force in personal finance. It doesn't show up in any spreadsheet, but it quietly redirects hundreds of thousands of dollars away from your future self and into consumption that produces zero lasting satisfaction. Research on hedonic adaptation is unambiguous on this point. Lifestyle upgrades produce genuine happiness boosts that last between 18 and 24 months. Then, the new normal sets in completely. The elevated spending remains permanent, the elevated happiness does not. You are paying a permanent financial price for a temporary emotional experience. The families who build genuine wealth through their 40s understand this mechanism explicitly. They define enough before their income makes excess feel normal. They automate retirement contributions first and spend what remains. They make peace with a lifestyle that looks slightly modest compared to their peer group. In an exchange, they purchase something their lifestyle-inflating neighbors will spend decades desperately wishing they had bought. Optionality. Pure, compounding, financially sovereign optionality.
Let me show you exactly how all of this plays out in real life. Not in theory, not in a spreadsheet, in the actual lived experience of two American households who started from nearly identical positions and arrived at radically different destinations. Meet Marcus and Diane. Combined income at 40, $165,000. Retirement savings, $190,000. Modest home, 2 practical cars, 2 kids aged 11 and 13. By any measure, a solid foundation. Marcus pushed for a home upgrade. The kids were getting bigger. The neighborhood felt like it should reflect where they'd arrived professionally. They moved into a $570,000 home. Monthly housing costs increased by $1,700. To absorb it, retirement contributions dropped from 14% to 5%. Temporarily, they told themselves. 2 years later, new vehicles, because the new house deserved vehicles that matched it. 2 payments totaling $1,100 monthly. When their eldest reached college age, they took a Parent Plus loan rather than ask her to consider the state university with a merit scholarship. Throughout their 40s, Marcus and Diane never felt financially irresponsible. Every decision had logic. Every upgrade felt proportionate to their income. By 50, their retirement accounts held $260,000, $70,000 more than they'd started with a decade earlier. Despite 10 years of contributions and market returns, the lifestyle had consumed almost everything the market had generated. By 65, aggressive catch-up saving brought them to $690,000. Their financial planner delivered the quiet, devastating news. At their projected spending level, the money would likely run out somewhere around age 81. Now, meet Robert and Claire. Same starting point at 40, combined income of $155,000, retirement savings of $175,000. Robert suggested the home upgrade. Claire had done the math. She understood what that monthly difference compounded to over 25 years. They stayed. Vehicles got replaced with certified pre-owned practical options. Their children attended state universities with merit aid. Retirement contributions never dropped below 13%. Their 40s looked quieter than their peer group, less renovated, less impressive from the street. By 50, their retirement accounts held $590,000. The same market, the same decade, $330,000 more. By 65, $1.65 million. House paid off, zero financial anxiety, complete freedom to choose how every remaining day gets spent. Same income level, same decade, one set of intentional decisions. The gap between these two families was never about earning power. It was entirely about what they chose to do with the leverage their 40s gave them. Let's get practical, because understanding the problem without a clear path forward is just expensive anxiety. So let me speak directly to wherever you are right now.
If you're in your 20s or early 30s, you have something extraordinarily valuable. You have foreknowledge. You now understand that your 40s will arrive, dressed as success, carrying a series of completely reasonable-sounding upgrades, each one quietly capable of redirecting your entire financial future. The work you do right now is simple but critical. Build the habit of automatic retirement contributions before lifestyle has a chance to consume the margin. Define what enough looks like before your income makes excess feel normal, because the habits you establish at 32 are the exact habits that will either protect you or fail you at 44. If you are entering your 40s right now, understand that you are standing at the most important financial intersection of your life, not the most dramatic one, the most consequential one. Audit every major expense category with genuine honesty. Is your housing cost appropriate for your retirement timeline, or is it a trophy with a 30-year mortgage attached? Are your vehicles transportation, or are they status symbols with monthly payments that quietly drain your investment capacity? Are you funding retirement contributions before funding lifestyle expansion, or are you doing it the other way around and calling it temporary? Every yes to lifestyle inflation right now is a mathematical permanent no to retirement security later. The leverage of time does not negotiate. If you're in your late 40s and recognizing yourself in the wrong story, the window is narrower, but it is absolutely not closed. Every percentage point added to your savings rate today still matters significantly. Consider options your lifestyle-inflated peer group would find unthinkable. Downsizing housing now, rather than waiting until retirement forces it. Selling premium vehicles and redirecting those payments into index funds. Pursuing career moves that increase income even if they require uncomfortable change. The math from 50 is harder than the math from 40, but it is still real math, and real math still responds to real decisions. And if you're past your 40s with savings that feel insufficient, focus exclusively on what remains within your control. Delay Social Security claims as long as practically possible to maximize your monthly benefit permanently. Consider working 2 to 3 additional years, which simultaneously adds contributions and reduces the withdrawal period. Downsize housing to release equity and eliminate carrying costs. These are not glamorous strategies, but they are effective ones, and effectiveness is the only metric that matters at this stage. Picture yourself at 70. The morning is quiet. Coffee is made. In one version of that morning, you're thinking about which grandchild you'll visit this month. You're planning a trip somewhere you've always wanted to go. An unexpected expense arrives, and you handle it without a single sleepless night. In the other version, you're calculating whether this month's Social Security deposit covers both the medication copay and the property tax bill.
You're not relaxed. You're managing. There's a difference. A permanent, daily, unmistakable difference. Both versions of you made their 40s decisions decades earlier. Neither felt particularly dramatic at the time. One chose compounding. The other chose comfort. One chose optionality. The other chose appearances. The 40s will pass regardless. That decade will end whether you make intentional choices or default ones. The only question is which version of 70 you are quietly building right now. If this gave you genuine clarity today, share it with someone in their 40s who needs to hear it, not as a warning, as a gift, because the best time to understand this is always before the decade ends.